You say I make you nervous, a tragedy, I'm a beautiful disaster, a reckoning, you wonder how I got this way. You think I'm someone to be saved, someone to clean up and tame. Oh, some things never change, never change. You think I would look pretty on your arm once you cover up my bruises and battle scars, but it always ends the same. Can't bear the things I've had to face, got you crying on your knees in pain. Oh, some things never change, never change. Oh, you'll break your back to make me feel again, suffocate to make me breathe again, lose your mind from endless pain. Some things never change, never change. Oh, redemption ever came. I stopped asking for forgiveness, cause you should know only fools tread where the angels fear to go, but you keep trying to get too close. Save myself by turning into stone, so save your judgment cause you just don't know. But some things never change, never change. Oh, they say I should feel guilty and change my ways, leaving crumpled bodies in my wake. Swear I didn't mean to make them break, swear I didn't mean to make them break. But they're so delicate and so mundane, and they keep coming like a moth to a flame. Oh, some things never change, never change. You'll break your back to make me feel again, suffocate to make me breathe again, lose your mind from endless pain. Some things never change, never change. Oh, redemption never came. You say I make you nervous, a tragedy, I'm a beautiful disaster, a reckoning, you wonder how I got this way. You think I'm someone to be saved, someone to clean up and tame. Oh, some things never change, never change. You think I would look pretty on your arm once you cover up my bruises and battle scars, but it always ends the same. Can't bear the things I've had to face, got you crying on your knees in pain. Oh, some things never change, never change. Oh, you'll break your back to make me feel again, suffocate to make me breathe again, lose your mind from endless pain. Some things never change, never change. Oh, redemption ever came. I stopped asking for forgiveness, cause you should know only fools tread where the angels fear to go, but you keep trying to get too close. Save myself by turning into stone, so save your judgment cause you just don't know. But some things never change, never change. Oh, they say I should feel guilty and change my ways, leaving crumpled bodies in my wake. Swear I didn't mean to make them break, swear I didn't mean to make them break. But they're so delicate and so mundane, and they keep coming like a moth to a flame. Oh, some things never change, never change. You'll break your back to make me feel again, suffocate to make me breathe again, lose your mind from endless pain. Some things never change, never change. Oh, redemption never came.
What's up, boys? Happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing great. Good evening. Tidings, greetings. Lots to talk about. So, figured I would see if I can catch you guys on Wednesday night. I think there's gonna be a lot of people here once they get wind that we're doing a live stream, and we can go into some stuff. Do I have chat up? I think I do. Jesse, what's up, brother? This guy is, by the way, like one of the most hyped guys in our comment section. Be like Jesse. Danzy, how are you? Sam, what's going on? Those of you that just jumped in, hope you're great. Ask questions if you got them. In the meantime, I want to talk about a couple things. So this is not a client of mine. This is a random person that emailed me based on the advice that I've given or the content I've done regarding DHT and Proviron. People do often forget or are swayed negatively or swayed in the wrong direction by some of the, pharmaceutical interest-based literature that's out there that says, like, finasteride is fine and doesn't cause sexual dysfunction and whatever, among other people, not to target DHT if you have sexual dysfunction, whether you're on TRT or you're not on TRT. I mean, if you're not, you should probably get your testosterone up and hopefully you convert enough. But I got an interesting anecdotal. I can't read I can't show it in front of the screen because there's sensitive information and there's like some TMI stuff in there, but I'll read you the first part of an email that I got from a guy who watched our content, started taking Proviron, had serious sexual dysfunction, is on TRT, can't get his protocol straight, has tried various esters and various doses. This is what he wrote. He goes, "Hey, Ryan, thanks for the content. I've been watching a lot of your content regarding Proviron, and I ordered some." Okay. Good luck, brother. Hope you got it from a good source. Started taking 25 milligrams a day and nothing for the first 6 days. Day 7 through 14, and holy shit, my morning wood is back. My nocturnal erections are back. I am insatiably horny. And this is where it gets into TMI, so I'll just say the first part. He basically goes on to say his climaxes are reflexive. Okay, so like when you climax as a male, right, there's a reflexive action that, when you ultimately come, it's either weak. It could be weak. You'd have a sort of a weak reflexive climax and your orgasm is a little weak, but ultimately the ejaculate does not pump out fast or in some aggressive way. One of the interesting things, in addition to turning on his sexual function from taking Proviron, that this guy that watched content of ours regarding DHT, because no one else focuses on it, and people on the web are saying that, you don't need to focus on DHT, basically goes that the ejaculate part of climax is stronger, almost like it's just like pulsing out faster like a fucking porn star. Anyway, I just want to share that anecdotal with you guys. That's a guy who watched our content regarding DHT, who decided finally to take my advice on it. Like, I understand DHT is very, very critical for male sexual function, especially if you've had sexual dysfunction in the past, whether libido issues, erectile issues, climax issues, sensation issues. And this guy is now fully back and more on Proviron with TRT. So just wanted to share that anecdotal with you folks. One of the interesting other things I want to quickly talk about is, look, creatine is a pretty underrated supplement. I've just started taking it again. I've taken it in the past historically. There's one paper that suggests that it raises serum concentrations of DHT. It actually did, like some large percentage. That would be something to look into for those of you that maybe, you have an issue with, reducing your testosterone into DHT. Okay. There is such a thing. It's probably in the literature. Well, it's in the literature, right? But this specific case might not be in the literature, but it is in the anecdotals, where people that are on TRT aren't 5-alpha reducing their test to enough DHT. This is one of the reasons I think HCG helps people, because it actually upregulates 5-alpha reductase in your testicles. Okay. Something to think about. Maybe start taking some creatine. You get a little more water accumulation in your muscles. Your serum osmolality changes in a positive way. There's neuroactive benefits to taking creatine. So you'll actually find in the nootropic subreddit people regard it as a nootropic. All right, boys, if you got questions, ask them. Danzy's asking about nootropics for discipline. I mean, anything cholinergic would probably be useful for disciplining you. Ultimately, you're needing to focus, right? So if you took a racetam that jived well with you and that you could dose right, like aniracetam is usually always my go-to, or just the OG piracetam, then probably you'd have more discipline to focus on things that you should be doing. Alternatively, though, or otherwise, if you're not interested in whatever it is you need to be disciplined about, you're not going to do it. Or if you feel shitty, if you don't feel really awesome. Like you have a lot of energy. Then it's gonna be hard to be disciplined to do things, you know? Like in my history, when my testosterone started dropping, when my testosterone was low, when I was in my early 30s, I didn't have discipline to do a whole lot, especially the gym, right? I knew better. I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with my body. I got to get to the bottom of this. But like, maybe if you don't know better, you think you're just a lazy asshole, right? But you're not. You're not lacking discipline. You're lacking energy to go kill it. So that'd be my take on that. Adam has got a 10-hour practical driving lesson to do next week. What nootropics or stimulants should I use that day? Well, you want to use a nootropic that you've already validated is effective for you so that you don't get side effects. Like you want to use something at the dose that you've validated is effective and doesn't come with side effects. Quite honestly, modafinil is a pretty good fail-safe in this situation. So 75 to 100 milligrams. Again, you'd probably want to run it before just to see what dose you respond best to, but that'd be my suggestion. I think everything's going to be turned on with modafinil. Again, if you can dose the right cholinergic for you, because people's bodies are certainly different, and you already know the dose and the choline source that you respond well to, aniracetam, citicholine would be good. You just got to find your doses. Practical driving lesson. That pretty much be it. Make sure you get a lot of sleep the night before. And yeah, seriously, consider running modafinil. Sam, DHT is a trash hormone guy. I made a video mentioning you. Yeah, somebody told me that he did. I haven't looked at it yet. I just don't care. The bottom line about that is like, I mean, I've seen, I want to say it's 55 because I actually went and looked at it because this has been a hot topic lately. 55 men that I've done coaching with or consulting on post-finasteride syndrome or PFS, all induced by 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. And the degree of sexual function that these men have as a result of not making adequate DHT, both measured by their bloods, right, and explained in their anecdotals. You know, these guys are borderline crying, some of them, you know, with stories about how their relationships are shit, or they can't date and they want to date desperately, but they can't because their dick doesn't work and they have no libido. So there's that. But in the scientific literature, like there's not just like accumulating, mounting evidence or something. Like this has been documented as a problem, right? You know, on the label of, you know, the 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, one of the side effects is erectile dysfunction. It's a well-known thing. So anybody that says anything counter to that is bias and unwilling to look at the other side. Like I'm willing to look at the other side, right? Some people that take finasteride don't get sexual dysfunction. Perfectly fine, right? For one reason or another, they're either continuing to make enough DHT, their bodies are somewhat resistant to the loss of 5-alpha reductase enzymes, where, you know, maybe they're being inhibited to an extent, but they're not just completely being abolished to the point where they're making no DHT, and that still suffices for sexual dysfunction. We don't know their history. We don't know how much DHT they've been exposed to prior to that, which plays a huge fucking role in whether or not you're going to get sexual dysfunction on stuff. So I'll look at both sides, whereas people on the other side that say, you know, that would even utter one of the most ridiculous phrases I think I've heard in my biohacking career, that DHT is a trash hormone. They're just not looking at the other side, right? So there is no argument. Again, I've said this before, but arguing with people that are unwilling to look at the other side and are saying things so fucking preposterous and provably wrong, it's like having a conversation with a Labrador, you know, or like a 6-year-old. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have a conversation with a Labrador or a 6-year-old about anything. Anything serious anyway. Can nootropics really increase IQ? Well, you might want to ask one of the guys who has the documented highest intelligence quotient, one of the highest in the world right now. His name is Rick Rosner, who takes like something to the tune of 180 supplements a day, a good degree of which are nootropics. So, you know, I think that's an anecdotal, and we don't really, it's a sort of correlation, right? But the thing about IQ is this, like if you've taken an IQ test, and I assume you have, anyone that's taken an IQ test, you know that it's a lot of like complex problem solving. It sort of takes you back to high school where they're like, you know, Jane had 3 baskets and 2 tennis balls, and she put 1 tennis ball in one basket and the other, she put like this whole thing, like those kind of problems. Well, you know, a good degree of your capacity to solve those types of issues are acutely how the prefrontal cortex is firing, acutely how acetylcholine is firing, potentially acutely how GABA is mediating the inhibition of other neurotransmitters. And so if you can manipulate that, if you can manipulate neurotransmitter profile via nootropics, well, you're definitely going to perform differently on some sort of examination or test that requires you to fire or not fire said neurotransmitters. So I think there's no question that in the acute period, you'll have a better performance, which would almost definitely register or likely register as a higher IQ on a given test that day. Does it mean that your IQ gets better over time? Unlikely, unless you are running, heavy cycles of cerebral lysin very consistently, in addition to or alternating between something like 9-ABPC, where you're stimulating brain-derived neurotrophic factor, glial cell line-derived neurotrophic factor, the regeneration of dopamine neurons, the maturing of dopamine neurons, nerve growth factor, and there's nerve growth factor inducing nootropics as well. So like Alcar. So if you're doing those things long term, likely you'll have bumps in your IQ as a result of your brain working better. It's pretty cut and dry. I just think people can't fathom that, taking nootropics can increase their IQ because they're lacking any degree of complexity in their understanding of neurobiology, right? And what it actually takes for the brain to fire in those kind of tasks. So to me, it's very fucking cut and dry. And it's not just because I'm biased regarding nootropics. I could care less. It's pretty cut and dry though. Improve your performance. You're going to be better. 7R's asking what's best for coding. Like making complex problems for rewarding coding. Well, I'll tell you this, man. I used a lot of racetams, mainly aniracetam, oxiracetam, citicoline. I think it was high dosing paracetam on some days when I learned Ruby on Rails. Okay. And I'm not a programmer. I do know HTML, CSS, a little bit of PHP, some JavaScript, because I own a web design company and I've been doing that for 20 years, like on and off. But, racetams helped me to learn Ruby and learn the framework of Rails easier than if I hadn't been taking racetam. So to be perfectly honest with you, in that case, you would want to be dosing cholinergics, any racetam that you can find that makes sense for you, that you figure the dose on. Nick Duke, Rimistane or anastrozole for short-term high E2 fix. I mean, people are going to say different things, right? I think ultimately anastrozole is probably better because you can dial it in quicker. If you overdose aromatase or other aromatase inhibitors that are steroidal aromatase inhibitors, then it could be a week or two before you get back to estrogen homeostasis or the place where you need to be if you have taken the wrong dose of it. Whereas anastrozole, you're looking at 4 or 5 days, 6 days max, but you'll already start feeling better because estradiol is going to, the arimidex stops binding to the heme iron of the aromatase enzyme at like hour 50 to an extent, right? To a 50% reduction, right? And so at that point, your estrogen is going to start to rebound, whereas on other aromatase inhibitors that aren't fast acting, or at least short-lived, like anastrozole, it's going to take a lot longer than that. Google account says started TRT February 2023. Started taking creatine November 2023. Holy moly, creatine and TRT is a game changer for my work. Absolutely, yeah. Creatine's a fucking killer supplement, man. Time and time again in the literature, I haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I've used it on and off. I haven't used it in a while, but I just started taking it again. Time and time again, creatine, like you're not going to find significant negatives in the scientific literature or in terms of anecdotals, and you're going to continue to find positives, not just for like the osmolality changes, which allow you to retain more fluid in the muscles, which arguably actually makes you more anabolic. Literally, creatine will make you more anabolic. It's not going to be like Anavar, but it's going to, you're going to be more anabolic. And all the neuroactive components of it, some of the anecdotals of people like saying that their brain fog is removed and that they like don't want to live their lives without taking creatine every day. It's a fucking powerful supplement. It's a powerful supplement, man. That's why if you think about supplements, creatine is kind of in its own like little area where like it's special, right? You know what I mean? Everyone knows about it and people have used it. People use it and people talk about using it. So I think that's great. And TRT is obviously awesome. So good on you, brother. How goes it, brother? Matt, what would be the best time to get blood tests done if I'm doing daily injections? Again, I've talked about this before. I think you may have asked this question historically, or somebody did. It depends on what you're trying to do. Ultimately, when you're reading blood work relative to your injections, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, where is estradiol and testosterone at this time relative to this injection? So if you're injecting like 30 milligrams a day of cypionate for 210 a week or something, you want to understand what's happening. You want to run blood like 3 to 4 hours post injection, so you can kind of see where at your peak or while you're peaking for the day. And then you probably want to run labs if you can if you can manage it, if you can swing it at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and then when you start to trough a little bit, so that you can see where's the variation, where is the estradiol, is it pretty steady state, does it go up in the morning and then does it decrease, does that correlate with, you know, lackluster erections in the first part of the day, but then you get nocturnal erections? Like, these are things that you have to use to figure out answers to those kind of questions. Like, getting very granular about it is useful. Otherwise, though, if you're injecting infrequently, your best bet is to inject or to run labs at your trough. You can run labs at your peak as well. You should do both, right? But running labs at your troughs gives you an idea generally of where you are at your peak. But ultimately, it kind of is like, okay, if you know that if you're injecting 150 milligrams a week, split up into 2 injections, that you're at, you know, 580 nanograms per deciliter total test, in range free test, and 26 estradiol at your trough, okay, well, you know, you're definitely therapeutic when you're in your peak and you're in a good place. And if libido and erections are good, then you're in a good place. But if they're bad, then estradiol's probably peaking too much or whatever, and you got to figure that out. So I guess it really depends. I don't think DHEA should be banned. No. Matt got off the phone with Defy. They just put me on prop. Awesome. And 1,000 IU pregnant a week. Can't wait to see what happens. That's beautiful, man. Yeah, if I were you, I'd inject that Pregnal in 2 increments of 500 IU. Just, you know, you prevent a good degree of that overload of estradiol that you'll get from, you know, the estrogenic nature of HCG via intratesticular aromatase, but still get a bolus enough amount at once. Yeah, I swear like 500 to 750 IU at a time is the best dose for HCG. People are going to argue with me on that, but I've just, you know, I've not seen myself, I've not been wrong, you know, with client work regarding that. Regarding prop though, the interesting thing about prop is that you can dose prop lower, way lower than you were dosing, you know, your cypionate or enanthate, you know, and you're still going to get, you might be a little less anabolic. You're a little less anabolic on prop via less nitrogen retention anyway. Also less constant androgens around binding to ARs and activating, you know, anabolism, but, and skeletal tissue, but also in muscles. Like, you may fucking want to run 10 milligrams of prop a day. All right. I know that sounds crazy. That's 70 milligrams a week, or maybe 12 milligrams, maybe 15 milligrams, which I think is like 105 milligrams a week. But look, I mean, you're still going to peak in estradiol. Like, estradiol is still going to go up, and it may go past your range depending. But if your dose is low enough, but that stuff's still very powerful to give you all day energy and good anabolism, as long as you're working hard at the gym, estradiol is never going to be a problem, you know, on 10 milligrams of prop, and it's going to give you what you need. Like, prop is a game-changing ester for fucking sure. You know, when I was running prop, I was running 20 milligrams a day, you know, and yeah, I had to take an AI every now and then. It really all depends. Like, most protocols I do, depending. But if I ran 10 milligrams of prop a day, I don't think I'd have to take an AI. But great, good luck, and prop is an incredible ester. Brian Sanchez is with a super chat, and MX says, best supplement to overcome anhedonia. You need to, okay, so the answer to this question is, should hopefully help you reflect on, you know, the misguided nature of internet forums that suggest, have you tried inositol for your PSSD or for your anhedonia? Have you tried citicoline? Like, it's not one supplement. There is no supplement. That's the answer. The answer to your question we know of that we think can do this is 9-methyl-beta-carboline. But potentially there's other compounds that can have restorative action. There are other compounds that have restorative action on the brain, specifically cerebral lysine, maybe even TB500, a fucking peptide, definitely BPC157, also Cialis, right? So there's a lot of things that you would want to do. In addition, though, what controls neurotransmitters to a large degree are hormones, sex hormones. Dave Lee said this pretty articulately on our recent podcast, where he says they're the marionettes of your body, hormones. They control neurotransmitters in much more of a when I learned about all this, like how much testosterone controls dopamine and noradrenaline, like I was like fucking blown away, dude. It's more than you would imagine. So you've got to focus on all that. And the best thing you can do is not think it's going to be a singular supplement, because you'll be spinning your wheels for the next 5 years, like everybody else on all the forums, all the PSSD forums, especially those forums regarding sexual dysfunction. They're like, have you tried niacin? No single dude, you're not even close to getting to the bottom of it. Best racetam for focus and verbal fluency would be piracetam, definitely. Pat Music asks if I noticed a difference between topical versus TRT injection. Yes, definitely. Yeah, 5 pumps of a 200 milligram per milliliter Toppy Click Versabase, I believe, testosterone cream. My libido and erections were some of my libido was insatiable. Like I remember there was a girl I was dating at the time that I fucking couldn't keep my hands off of her. She lived somewhat far away too, and I would convince her to drive to my place, and we would just have crazy fucking sex when I was on cream. So it was awesome. Injectable TRT, you can get there too, but estradiol's got to be controlled. Ultimately, DHT's got to be counterbalancing or being a countermeasure to estradiol. You've got to be converting enough of your test to DHT, and that can be a problem for people that are on TRT. No one ever thinks about that. You're probably not if you got sexual dysfunction, it's either estradiol or you're not converting enough DHT. So yes, you can make it work on the injections too, especially if you're low dosing prop with some HEG. Fucking forget it, man. Add some Proviron in there and you're good to go forever. But yeah, huge difference. The other, I think, cognitive or alertness based or mental energy difference is that cream is much more potently stimulatory than testosterone injection, unless you're injecting high dose prop. High dose prop, like when I was messing with prop, I was doing 30 milligrams a day for some period. It ultimately wasn't the right dose for sexual function, but it was the right dose for brain function. I was like, yeah, I felt fucking bulletproof all day. Anabolic as shit and just great all day, dude. But cream onsets in like an hour or less, peaks in 2 hours. You get a peak of DHT at hour 4 to 6. Huge difference, man. I mean, the energy that comes with testosterone cream is fucking second to none. I mean, it's sometimes too much. That's one of the reasons for me, in addition to convenience factors, cream really wouldn't be, I don't know. Who knows? I might try it again. Like I like to try things and see, but I did run cream for some time, and 5 pumps was insane for sexual function, but it made me I'm like just too stimulated, bro. So huge difference between the two of them. Also, though, cream is gonna, depending on where you're applying it, but if you're applying it to the testicles, at least 2 applications a day, maybe the other 2 on your shoulders or something, you're going to convert more to DHT. So that is a significant benefit that you are not going to get on injections. You're going to get DHT on injections, but what if your 5-AR enzymes aren't up to par? What if you're not converting enough of your test to dihydrotestosterone? That's fucking critical. That's one reason people have sexual dysfunction on TRT, and they just don't recognize it because idiots on the web say DHT is a trash hormone. It's not. So huge difference between the two, brother. Zachary, thoughts on how to increase libido while on TRT plus lavoxamine? That's a hard one, man. You're going to want to, I don't even know, because you're not going to want to reduce serotonin because you've got some synaptically extra serotonin via the SERT inhibition from the SSRI. But the problem with that is it's prolactogenic. So, if anything, I'd maybe take 100 to 200 milligrams pyridoxal 5-phosphate or P5P. I'd be taking a gram of Shasandra a day. These are things that'll lower prolactin. So you don't want your prolactin to go up because that's going to inhibit gonadotropin release, testosterone synthesis, as well as your conversion of test to DHT. So those would be my suggestions, honestly. Be on, you're on TRT, so that's a beautiful thing. At least you have that. I'd be monitoring prolactin and DHT labs, man. And if anything goes wrong, look at those labs. What gym exercises increase testosterone? So people say, I'm not huge on this kind of stuff because if you got some sort of impaired system regarding testosterone production, no amount of squats are going to help you. But people say squats and compound lifts. Why do you prefer citicoline? More dopaminergic action, releases more noradrenaline, so you feel more stimulated. Is it the only reason? Oh yeah, a long half-life and near absolute bioavailability, whereas GPC is nowhere near that in terms of both the half-life or the bioavailability. GPC has more choline per milligram, but that doesn't necessarily matter. You can take less citicoline and have more absorbability, and there's like a 78-hour half-life. So that is my answer to that. Any truth to carnitine interfering with thyroid? I think there is. I've never seen it before, but I don't think there have been enough instances in which people had that issue and remeasured like T3 or something. So I'm not saying it isn't possible. It could be. I forget the mechanism for that, but I did read some literature on that some time ago. Yeah, not sure. Thoughts on HCG monotherapy? Could be useful. Yeah, it's going to depend on you, man. I mean, one thing that's probably great about HCG monotherapy is that since you don't have another androgen in the mix, your estradiol probably won't go over range if you're running like 2 KIU to 2500 IU per week. Then estradiol will probably be in a reasonable range and you'll have good sexual function. I mean, all HCG is a fucking testosterone secretagogue. If you think about like secretagogues like CJC and these GH secretagogues, HCG is a secretagogue for testosterone, right? That's all it is. It's just stimulating your testes to make your own inherent testosterone, which the growth hormone secretagogues do in the pituitary regarding GH. So I think it's great. I think it's great. Would I personally go on HCG monotherapy? Not after I've been on TRT, because the anabolism and the energy is something else. It's just better on TRT, and I think you're going to live longer, probably have better cardiac health if your dose is not too high and estradiol is controlled and whatever. At the same time, I am dosing test and HCGs, kind of getting best of both worlds, just not dosing HCG in 2500 IU, but at this point it's about 1500 IU. So there's that. Yeah. Thoughts on phenibutes? Yeah. I mean, it's going to make you look, it will induce a feeling of profound relaxation like Xanax will, or like other powerful GABAergics will. But very quickly, your brain via GABA B receptor activity is going to get dependent on it. It's an addicting drug, in other words, what I'm trying to say. And if you let yourself go thinking, I'll be able to get off of it, and you just kind of continue taking it, you're going to have a real rough fucking 1 to 2 weeks when you stop taking it. Proviron versus DHT gel. I don't have experience with DHT gel as much as I have experience with Proviron, so can't really say. Let me think. I mean, the different things here, like Proviron's binding to the SHBG, it's freeing up some free hormones, so you're going to actually get a lot of systemic DHT, which will have powerful action at the tissues. That's one of the reasons Proviron is so great. Makes your own inherent DHT more powerful. Like, it's not going to change your DHT levels, or at least like decrease them, or it's not going to like shut your DHT down. People have a misconception about Proviron. They also think it crushes SHBG, and it can lower it. Doesn't mean it's crushing it. It's serving a very specific purpose of freeing up other free hormones by binding to SHBG. Stop reading the forums and repeating shit that other people say. But other than that, though, Mesterolone or Proviron is the only DHT derivative that has any piece of scientific literature on it that suggests or shows us that it restores binding domains on the androgen receptor. Nothing else can do that, right? Nothing else that we know of. Maybe Winstrol can, because it's very close to DHT, and maybe Anavar can, because it's somewhat close to DHT. There's no papers on that, but there is on Proviron, where it's restoring either, is it one of 3 or all 3 binding domains of the androgen receptor? That's fucking critical for androgens to bind to the receptor, and then for the post-receptor genetic activity to take place. Those binding domains are actually critical for transcriptional activity. They are the rate limiting, if you will, things for transcriptional activity. So Proviron's really fucking effective in that way. DHT gel, I mean, I don't know that it will have modulatory effects like that on the androgen receptor. It may, but I don't know. I know one thing, your inherent DHT, via this study I just referenced, does not have the ability to restore mutated androgen receptors like Proviron does. Your inherent DHT doesn't. Okay, because they actually stated in the study, Mesterolone executed the restoration of this mutated androgen receptor while the person's inherent DHT could not. That was very specific in that paper. So, big difference, brother. Adam Collins, good question. How I manage acne on TRT. The single best thing that I found for managing acne on TRT, aside from and recognizing that when you change your protocol, you're going to have some acne regardless of what you're doing. If you're switching your protocol too often, you're going to have fucking acne. If you're not stable for long enough, you're going to have acne. If you go super physiologic with DHT, you're going to have some acne. If you take Proviron, you're going to have some acne. If your injections are less frequent, you're going to have, a little more acne. but that may be useful for you, especially if you're on a long ester to be having frequent injections. Anyway, the single, so that's just going to happen regardless, but the single most effective thing I found is literally Dial Gold. That's it. Everyone's like, oh, buy this advanced $72 salic acid plus whatever stuff, or salic acid, or, like Stridex webs. Like, no. None of that shit's effective for TRT-induced acne. No way. No, not even close. Not even fucking close. Gold, Dial Gold, antibacterial soap. Lather it on for 3 minutes. Let it sit for an additional minute, and then wash it off. Do that twice a day or 3 times a day if you can, and you will have a different life. You'll have a lot less acne, and all the acne that you had is going to start to clear up. Nobody knows about this. Nobody fucking talks about it. Okay? Dial Gold soap. Much better than any bro suggestion you're ever going to find. This is a bad idea. My favorite nootropic. Man. I don't know, man. I had aracetam probably. Oh, teacrine, modafinil, those are my top. I mean, there's I get the theanine I like a lot though. I mean, there's an oxiracetam I love. Phenylpiracetam is fucking killer. I think there's just too many. I've done 2 different videos, one on my top 10 and one on my top 15. One's like 8 years old and has 140K views. The other's probably about 3 or 4 years old. So you got to look at those on the channel, brother. Brian, have you noticed hair loss from TRT or other compounds? Not significantly. I think when I've dosed it, when I've dosed a Nastrozole too high or taken the estradiol too low, just in the dialing in process of various protocol adjustments, then I've gotten a little shedding, a little, like I could tell, like I'll see a little bit of, I'll just see a little more open spots in certain areas of my brain. But then once that is removed from the protocol or is adjusted accordingly, the hair just comes right the fuck back in those areas. So it's not a significant issue. I ran Proviron for a brief period last year, ultimately couldn't handle the stimulation. I would run it again. I've just got to change the TRT dose probably in a downward trajectory via, to handle what ultimately was very potent overstimulation. But then there was a little bit of shedding. I imagine if I was on Proviron for 30 days, I would have significant shedding. My genes are pretty bulletproof though, or close to bulletproof regarding hair loss. I just don't, my dad treated his body like absolute shit, died at 39. I'm 40 now. Died when I was young because he's an idiot. But, even him with an unhealthy body, he had a good degree of hair at 39. So I haven't really noticed a whole lot. Again, if I ran a lot of DHT derivatives or something, that might be an issue if I did that ongoingly, which I wouldn't. Also, take the aromatase inhibitor too high and you're going to get some hair loss. All right. Zia, have you worked with PSSD recoveries that didn't improve with TRT-HCG? Yes, there are people that won't recover with TRT-HCG, implying normal natural test levels beforehand. That didn't involve TRT-HCG. Nope. That was in everybody's regimen. That didn't fix everybody though. Like people that can't get their sexual dysfunction from SSRIs resolved, like there's always some underlying reason. DHT is usually the root reason or the thing that needs to be worked on the most in order to recover that. But also testosterone, intratesticular testosterone, neurosteroid replenishment, 5-alpha reduction of tested DHT, 5-alpha reductase enzyme optimization is something that also routinely should take place for anyone with sexual dysfunction, but especially PSSD. So, I think early on I got a guy better with we're running HCG for a brief period, and then we used Clomid to PCT, and when the PCT was over, he was cured. So there's one example, I guess, but HCG was involved in that. You're going to find in the various forums that, the only documented recoveries, the only recoveries I've seen in my personal work are with steroids, whether it's testosterone, or things like Proviron. I've seen oxandrolone restore somebody's sexual dysfunction. So good question, but no, if you're thinking that you want to try to avoid these things, don't. You want to get better, don't you? Get on hormones, start modulating, they're going to change your life and likely get your sexual function back. Huge difference. One's a precursor to serotonin. The other is a mild SSRI that has other properties. All right. Hey, Ryan, what's your thought on the ratio of 1-on-1 DHT derivative for AI purposes? Well, look, I think Proviron definitely, Primobolan definitely, Masteron definitely occupy the aromatase enzyme. So, they're going to inhibit some conversion of androgens, specifically of testosterone, to estradiol. That's in the research. So I think it's a good strategy to have. It's not the sole contributor for sexual optimization though on DHT derivatives. Like Proviron will optimize all manner of sexual function for people, assuming, estradiol is not crazy and they're also on TRT and their lifestyle is good and whatever. Wow, I just got overwhelmed with shit on my screen. What the fuck is this? But yeah, I mean, all of the DHT derivatives are going to inhibit aromatase to enough of an extent where, you'll get some estrogen control, but ultimately they're doing a lot of other things. And so that's not the sole reason for the benefits. The real reason for the benefits on DHT derivatives is, the free hormones, androgens specifically, that you end up getting as a result of them binding to SHBG, specifically Proviron. What is the cause of, despite having proper hard erections, loss of sensitivity and orgasms? That's a difficult one, man. I'll tell you what, if you ran a lot of 9-MeBC and you had sensation, which you probably would, then, dopamine is the cause of your lack of sensation in that particular case. It's a very complex system, man. Blood vessels, pudendal nerve, which, that's like your spinal cord and your neurology controls impulses that go through your pudendal nerve. Dorsal nerve, which is the nerve that actually kind of innervates the penis. But neurotransmitter binding, nitric oxide functionality in the penis, acetylcholine receptor activation and sensitivity to acetylcholine in penile tissues. All these things play a major role in this, man. So, your question is, it's not a single thing. It's all of those things need to be optimized. High levels of estradiol will cause a lack of sensation in the penis, like over range consistently. High levels of prolactin, even a little bit above range, will cause a lack of sensation in male genitalia. So there's a lot of things that can contribute to that. Those would be avenues to approach. All right, Google account. How serious, in your opinion, is the effect of microplastics, Teflon nonstick pans? We don't know. We don't really know because it's so immeasurable, because it's probably not being measured purposely. And, it hasn't been measured, and we have no idea. So I don't know. I think that since it's become enough of a significant discussion over the years to where about it, I've heard it many times, probably is affecting things. Probably is. There's got to be some reason. I haven't done a deep dive about this. There's got to be some reason why, guys' testosterone levels are fucking plummeting. Has to be some reason. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, but that could be a part of it. All right. Any thoughts on stacking other peptides with cerebral lysin? Trying to think of what wouldn't interfere. What would be smart to stack with it? Other peptides? I think you get. I don't know, man. I don't do things like that. Despite how I've tried everything under the sun and talk about it, I'm very careful. So when running cerebral lysin, I was running no other nootropics. I think probably you could get away with running PT141. You could probably get away with running ipamorelin or other growth hormone secretagogues. I don't think they're going to really interfere with the action of cerebral lysin much. You could probably run TB500, because that's just, muscle repair or wound healing, things of this nature. There's some other mechanisms to TB500. I don't think that would interfere. BPC 157 is neuroactive, so could interfere, but I don't think it'd be a problem. We really don't know. I haven't run on any other peptides with cerebral lysin, so that's by design. So if I wouldn't do it, you're on your own. I mean, good luck. Tread lightly, brother. Is 300 free T on 180 milligram a week something to worry about? It's pretty high. Worry about? I don't know. I mean, the more free T you have, or the more free T you have, the more estradiol is going to be fucking out of range, probably. The body, it's in a restorative interest, high free T is good. Usually. But, if you don't need restoration of androgen receptors or upregulation, meaning more quantity of androgen receptors or some serious sexual function revitalization, then I'm not sure that high free T is going to be good for you. and it might come with side effects. Yeah, might come with side effects. Yeah, I guess in my TRT tenure, anytime that my free T goes significantly above range, I don't really feel particularly well. Yeah, I don't feel particularly well, you know? Yeah, I mean, you know, people think like, okay, you want to be at 1700 nanograms per deciliter. It's like, well, maybe you could tolerate that for a little bit. Depends on how healthy you are, ultimately. You can tolerate it for longer if you're very healthy. But like, just go read the steroid forums, you know, and like read like on steroid subreddit, like people's high test, like literally search in the Reddit search function, high test side effects, and read them. You know, people are gonna be like, I was on 750 milligrams or 500 milligrams and this, and this happened. So you get above a certain threshold, bro, your body likes a very cool homeostatic range. And I think that range is different for different bodies. When you get out of that range in either direction, you're going to have side effects and your body's going to fucking freak out. Edibles make IBS and gastritis disappear during that period. I don't like the drowsy feeling. Yeah, I understand what you mean. One thing solves a problem, causes another problem. You know, I get that. Alternative that might act the same. Hard to say. IBS is a very complex condition, man. I mean, God, off the top of my head, you know, I have read something very significant about that recently. I forget exactly what it was. In addition to mastic gum being pretty helpful for all gut conditions, including IBS, there was something else. I forget though. Yeah, that's a very complex condition. I do know about it, but I'm having trouble referencing it in my brain right now. I've had a long day. Prosper. By the way, you're looking younger and younger. Younger? It's the beard being gone, definitely, bro. I mean, I shaved it one day accidentally, and like I was using my razor on the wrong attachment. It was on a 1. I thought it was on like a fucking 8 or 9 or whatever. And I took a huge chunk off of this side. And I had a big beard then. And I'm like looking at myself in the mirror like, what the fuck am I going to do now, bro? I had to shave it. So after that, though, I actually did recognize that the big beard, even though it makes me look very masculine and manly and all that shit, well, I dated tens, and, you know, hot chicks were attracted to my big beard, but as long as it was groomed. But I feel like I've gotten better feedback in that arena with heavy scruff. So I'm just going to keep the heavy scruff for now. So that's why I look younger. Ultimately, though, yeah, since I got out of a terrible relationship in late 2020 or early 2021, where I was not as healthy as I could have been, and I was probably drinking a little too much, eating too much, not working out as much, and you know, my energy, my spiritual energy was all fucked up via that relationship. After I got out of there, I'm like, oh fuck, I got myself back. So I just got back into all the stuff I know works, and here I am, man. Here I am, brother, and I'll never go back. I'll never not be healthy and look healthy again. I hope to be 70 and, you know, just kicking, man, you know, kicking, bro. Unlike Dave Asprey, who's gone through weird periods where he's the grandfather of biohacking, but he looked like he was fucking 85 when he was 40 something. He looks okay now, it looks like, but something happened to that guy. Anyway, brother, how long before you start to feel an HCG treatment? 3 to 5 days, maybe even that day, you'll feel horny. Like, you're going to stimulate intratesticular testosterone production and a little bit of estradiol and some neurosteroids, some 5-alpha reduction of your test DHT. So that stuff happens immediately. Anybody tells you that, you know, if you take an androgen or some androgenic hormone or whatever, and that your effects within the first day are placebo, they're idiots. They're not understanding pharmacology, obviously. It's usually just Jimmy from the internet that says stuff like that. Placebo. You are welcome. If you could go back to your younger self that is not supplemented heavily yet, what would you recommend? God, I'd probably be taking more liposomal glutathione, because I've taken a lot of supplements over the years, right? And my liver enzymes have never elevated, but, you know, I mean, I think there's what's the word? I mean, there's a finite amount of, the liver is very regenerative, but I think there's still, you can't just take 200 supplements like a day for fucking ever. You know what I mean? You're going to have problems, I think, eventually with that. Unless your genetics make your liver very strong, and some of those supplements are liver regenerative, so hard to say. But I'd probably take more glutathione. I would focus heavily on oxidative stress reduction. That's something I didn't do when I was younger and into biohacking. Like, I'd be taking a lot more antioxidants for sure, like ALA. I'd probably take ALA every day. I probably would have taken more krill oil, because I've just cycled between it and ran out and like, whatever, I don't need to get more krill. It's expensive kind of thing. I'd probably take krill every day. Anything else? No. Okay. Yeah, I would have gotten on hormones at 25. That's what I would have done. Absolutely. I would have started manipulating androgens very early, because it wasn't until I was 33 that I realized my testosterone was in the fucking gutter, and then I had to do something about it. I wish I would have started looking at those things at 25. Total T was 800 at the time. My free T was 300. That's an interesting one. I bet your SHBG is low. I'm not sure why your free T would be that high considering that total test, but probably that. All right. Do I have peptides and nootropics you purchased third-party tested? No, don't do that. I don't do that. No. Nope. I mean, every source that I've ever used for nootropics or peptides are just usually reputable sources that many people have confirmed on Reddit, basically, that work. I mean, people ask for sources all the time here. We can't talk about it for the 700th time, but you can go to Reddit and find sources. 300 milligrams phosphorus, Sarah, good idea post-workout. See, I don't know if you would want to blunt cortisol post-workout because it might be, hermetically useful. I don't know. That's just my guess. So I really don't know. Good question though. Jeffrey, hey Ryan, quick question. How much is your consultation through email method? I think right now it's $199 for just sending, I think a 20 or 25 minute email exchange. So the entirety of our interaction, me reading your email, formulating a response, can't go over 20 or 25 minutes, but that's enough time for me to look at your situation and tell you, what I think you should do if I was you, or what I would look at blood wise or what protocol to go on, etc. If you got the budget, go for something bigger though. If you got major problems, an email consult won't be, I'll give you some advice, but that's not going to be, what you need. But I think that's like $200 right now. Something to that effect. livecortex.com for rates, brother. Hope you guys have had a great week. It's Wednesday. I guess I've had a busy week. My web company is doing a lot of business, which is great. I am an aggressive entrepreneur in business, and so I've marketed the hell out of that company. And so we've got a lot of local, well-established, popular local big companies in Pittsburgh, which is great for our resume as a company and also great for me. I love going and having board meetings with these people in their businesses. I go to them and we have these meetings and I learn about their business. One of the companies we're building a website for right now does office furniture for schools and for any organization. Like if you ever wondered where the cafeteria desks come from, it's from a company like this. They do that for the whole Allegheny County and, this whole area. And so it's been really interesting to learn about their business. And I had a meeting with them at their showroom recently, and that was really fucking fulfilling because I just got to learn a lot. So that's been, happening with me in life. Just very busy, doing a lot of cardio, walking. Today, 2 gym sessions because I couldn't walk because it was raining a little bit. I actually just got back from the gym before I got on this live stream. Will, do nicotine patches make you more verbally fluent? Yes. How often do you use nicotine on a weekly basis? Sometimes many weeks without it. Ultimately, I get in stints of using 7 milligram patches of nicotine because they kind of feel like Adderall, and I'll run them for like a month on and off, just like every third day or something to that effect. Yeah, I really like the way that nicotine patches make me feel. Only 7 milligrams though. Above that, and I feel terrible. I feel fucking terrible. Overstimulation, bro. I mean, yeah, nicotine is a potent vasoconstrictor, so it's fine in regular doses, but if you put a 21 milligram patch of nicotine on and you're not used to that, I think the vasoconstriction is going to make you feel very funky. You're going to be like, start sweating and your chest is going to feel a little weird. It's not good. So, stick with 7 milligrams. That'll be my advice. How to deal with Cialis Harper? Not a whole lot you can do, man. It's like opening up a lower esophageal sphincter via the smooth muscle modification that it does. I think the best thing you can probably do is bulletproof your digestive function so that reflux is less of a problem. Yeah. And look, ultimately, if there's less acidic contents in your stomach, then when the LES opens up and gastric contents come upward, they'll be less acidic. All right. Baking soda is one thing that'll absolutely change the pH of that situation. Actually, the best thing to do would be to take baking soda, half a teaspoon and basically like a 5 or 6 ounce glass of water would be the best thing to do in that particular case. Otherwise though, get to the bottom of why you're refluxing to begin with. If it's just Cialis that causes it, okay, your gut is okay. But if you kind of have reflux ongoingly, then you should look into taking some mastic gum or dealing with it in some other targeted fashion. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. I've got some stuff to do. This has been fun. I appreciate your guys' questions. More content coming tomorrow, so look forward to that. And guess what? All of you have been saying I should be getting into peptides. I have been. I've been in a lot of peptides, but I've got TB500 coming in, so I'm going to use that. I've got some injuries from the gym that I really want to get to the bottom of. Rather than running BPC, I figured I'd take a crack at TB500. And I'm going to be fussing with some growth hormone secretagogues and probably like the months to come. So I'll have some content regarding peptides, other peptides coming soon. All right, boys, great questions. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Hope your Memorial Day was epic. And I will talk to you guys in less than 24 hours. Look forward to tomorrow's video. Later.